how well can you ever truly know someone? I mean, really. Think about someone you know, maybe charming, accomplished, helpful even.
Yeah, someone who seems, totally normal, admirable, maybe?
Exactly. Now imagine finding out that same person was capable of, well, unspeakable horror.
It's that stark contrast, that disturbing duality that we're really digging into today with Ted Bundy.
We're going deep by looking very closely at a specific book. It's written by someone who actually knew him personally.
Right, someone whose life got tangled up with his as the awful truth started coming out.
Right.
This isn't just facts and dates, it's a really personal look.
A window into the investigation, the man himself, all through the eyes of someone who was right there.
Yeah, drawn directly from the pages of this particular book.
Now, before we fully dive in, if you're someone who likes peeling back layers, connecting ideas from different places, we want to mention Mindful Moments. That's our YouTube channel. It uses AI for book analysis, really designed to spark reflection, critical thinking. It's a great place for more of this kind of deep exploration.
Good to know. So let's unpack this author's perspective because it's pretty unique.
Definitely. The book tells us about her background. She was a policewoman back in the 50s in Seattle.
Right, and she had education in writing, psychology, police science, quite a mix.
Which kind of put her in the perfect spot to cover major crime stories, didn't it?
It really did. She spent years on the crime beat, covered like over 800 cases, built up trust with loads of homicide detectives.
Which makes that quote she includes striking. A detective called it a somewhat unsettling accolade, saying, "Anne, you're just like one of the boys."
Wow. Yeah, shows how deep she was in that world.
And it was through volunteering, actually, at the crisis clinic that she met Ted Bundy.
Ah, okay. The book mentions they shared interest. Law, abnormal psychology, things she felt connected them.
She did, but she also sensed something else, sort of almost ephemeral, she calls it.
And Ted picked up on that too, apparently. The book includes a letter he sent her from jail.
Right, mentioning mind-expanding situations and this invisible hand guiding their destinies.
And how did he sign it?
Love chilled. Which, looking back,
Yeah.
chilling.
So to most people in this account, though, Ted seemed completely different.
Totally. The book shows us his early life. His name was changed, Theodore Robert Nelson, partly to protect him from prejudice about his birth.
Okay. And he was shy as a kid, but smart.
Yeah, shy, but a B-average student, apparently would stay up all night working on projects. He really wanted a serious relationship. Saw this woman, Stephanie Brooks, as kind of his ideal, sophisticated, beautiful.
And he worked hard.
Seemed like it. The book talks about him being a driver, even a bodyguard, for Art Sletcher's campaign. Helped his landlord with the house while he was studying law.
And that crisis clinic work,
Yeah.
it wasn't just casual, right?
Not at all. The author actually describes seeing him save lives. Hunched over the phone, calm voice, really patient, caring.
So she says, if Ted Bundy took lives, he also saved lives. She saw it herself.
Exactly. And that contrast is just, it's one of the most unsettling things in the book.
But there were these little cracks, things that a few people noticed but maybe brushed off.
Yeah, exactly. Like Mrs. Sloane at the yacht club. The book says she suspected him of sneaking girls in, maybe taking money, but she still liked him.
And Meg, his girlfriend.
She knew he was a schemer, kind of excused it at first, like he was just doing what he needed to survive.
But she also saw him wear a black wig once. Changed his whole look.
Yeah, a detail that came back to haunt her later when she saw a composite sketch or someone on TV during a campaign. That looked like him.
And Meg's friend Lynn, she didn't trust him.
Not at all. The book tells the story about Lynn seeing him creeping around in a backyard late one night, no good reason.
Oof.
Lynn was apparently really disturbed, told Meg to go to the police, said Ted looked so much like the composite sketch that started circulating later.
These weren't just little quirks then. Glimpses of something much darker.
But they just didn't break through that charming facade for most people. Not then.
So then we get to 1974. And the shadow, as the book puts it, starts to spread across the Pacific Northwest. Disappearances.
A terrible list. Linda Ann Healy, Catherine Mary Devine, Donna Manson, Susan Rancourt, Kathy Parks, Georgian Hawkins.
And the details the book provides, just awful. Linda Healy's routine, finding her bedding.
Right, the blood stains, type A positive, and this weird ribbed pattern on it, and then those terrifying phone calls to her house afterward, just breathing.
Catherine Mary Devine, just a teenager, last seen hitchhiking. Donna Manson, tiny, 5 feet tall, interested in death and magic, searching the campus for her.
Susan Rancourt, blonde, cheerleader, honor student. Kathy Parks vanishing from near lilac bushes down in Corvallis, Oregon.
Georgian Hawkins, described as tiny, vivacious, a daffodil princess, just gone.
And the police response, the book makes clear, was really hampered. Almost no physical evidence.
Which just fueled this feeling of like mass hysteria, put incredible pressure on the cops.
They held brainstorming sessions, desperate, trying to find any connection, a common denominator.
And then sightings started to emerge. The book highlights these. A pattern.
Yeah, a tall, good-looking guy, 20s, often seen with his arm in a sling, or a cast with a metal brace on his finger.
Right, approaching young women, asking for help.
Yeah.
Carrying books to his car.
And the car itself, a Volkswagen Bug. Crucially, missing its passenger seat, seen near abduction sites.
There's that chilling story, too. The girl who just got a bad feeling when a guy like that asked for help with books, and she just ran.
Smart girl.
Very. And this is where the author's own struggle becomes really central to the story she tells.
Because she knew Ted. She saw the composite sketch.
Exactly. And she wrestled with this immense guilt. How could her Ted, the one who helped people, be involved? But the resemblance...
It was undeniable. And it was personal, too, right? Her cousin's friend.
Was Lista Ann Healy, one of the first victims. Imagine that connection.
Unbelievable. Meanwhile, Detective Herb Swindler heading the Washington investigation.
He was convinced they were linked. Felt all that pressure. The book mentions he was even open to unconventional leads. Psychics, astrologers.
Yeah, there's that specific detail about the moon phases. Attacks happening when the moon was in Taurus, Pisces, Scorpio.
Which, maybe not scientific, but it shows how desperate they were for any kind of pattern in all that chaos.
And then the pattern seemed to shift, moved south, didn't it? Utah, Colorado.
Right. The book details this string of attacks. Melissa Smith found nude, brutally beaten, strangled with a stocking, assaulted.
Laura Aim, tall, skinny, vanished from a park. Debbie Kent.
And then Carol Daronch, the one who got away.
Her story in the book is intense. The guy pretending to be Officer Roseland, saying her car alarm went off.
Yeah, trying to get her into his car. She smelled alcohol, just felt something was wrong, fought him off, escaped.
And found bloodstains on her jacket later? Typo, telltale sign?
And then comes Ted Bundy's first arrest, recounted in the book, in Utah, stopped by police.
His reaction sounds almost casual. Deft explanations, the book calls them. Handcuffs. Oh, they're for a play.
Denied ever being in Colorado.
But the evidence trail credit card slips, tracking his VW, eventually placed him right there. And near the Utah abduction spots, too, directly contradicting him.
It's interesting. The book notes how psychologists in Utah had these widely divergent views about him. Some actually found him likable even then.
While Ted himself apparently thought the psych exams were malicious, slanted, and infernal.
Then there's the Colorado case. Karen Campbell, murdered at the Wildwood Inn.
And the evidence the book details connecting him. A crowbar in his car that might have matched her skull fracture.
And his first escape. Pretty dramatic.
Right out of the courthouse library in Pitkin County. The book describes his time on the run, losing weight, hurting his ankle, getting caught near the Aspen golf course.
And apparently some locals saw him almost as a lovable rogue.
Yeah, the book notes that reaction, and how the judge initially took the death penalty off the table in Colorado shows how hard it was for people to connect the charm with the suspected crimes.
From Colorado, his path, as the book traces it, leads to Florida and the Chi Omega house. Pure horror.
Just horrific. The book is unflinching. Lisa Levy, Margaret Bowman, killed. Karen Chandler, Kathy Kleiner, terribly injured.
The speed, the brutality, using an oak log, ligatures made from pantyhose, Hanes, Sears. The book even mentions the brands.
The injuries. Lisa Levy had bite marks, strangled, assaulted with a hairspray bottle. Margaret Bowman, skull fractures, strangled.
Karen Chandler and Kathy Kleiner survived, but broken jaws, fractures, deep cuts.
And the detail that other girls in the house slept right through it. Almost unbelievable.
And then shortly after, the attack on Cheryl Thomas in her own apartment.
Left her with a permanent limp, the book says. And they found a semen stain on her sheet. Another link.
All this happened after second escape, right from Colorado again.
Yeah, detailed in the book, went right through the jail ceiling. Made his way across the country to Florida.
Living under an alias, Chris Hagen, at a place called the Oak Rooming House.
And the book draws this picture of him trying to seem normal, playing ball, riding a bike, library, watching TV.
But also stealing. Cars, credit cards, driven by this feeling that the world owed Ted Bundy.
There's even that crazy detail about him having keys to his own leg irons the whole time.
Wow. Then the final capture, Pensacola.
Officer Lee stops him. There's a struggle. Ted yells for help, another one of those strange paradoxes.
Gives a fake name first. Kenneth Missner. Refuses to identify himself.
But they tracked the license plate on the stolen car, 13D112300, linked it back to an earlier incident in Jacksonville,
where he'd approached Leslie Parmenter, another young woman, using the name Richard Burton and flashing a fake fire department badge.
The book mentions after this final arrest, he called his old lawyer in Seattle, John Henry Brown.
Sounded distraught, apparently, but also wanted to talk about the old days. Strange.
Detectives tried to get information. He'd drop hints, killing in 6 states, wanting a deal.
Called himself a night person, a vampire, a voyeur. But those statements, the book says, weren't allowed in court.
So the trials become key, especially Miami, for the Chi Omega murders.
Right. The book focuses on the main evidence. Nita Neary's eyewitness ID was huge. Allowed, even though she'd seen his photo before.
And the bite mark on Lisa Levy.
That was powerful. Dr. Sauveron's testimony showing the match to Ted's chipped teeth. Very visual, very convincing for the jury, according to this account.
Plus, forensics blood, semen matching his type, footprints in the van matching his shoes. It all built up, as the book lays out.
And Ted's defense. The book describes him trying to discredit his own lawyers.
Yeah, bizarre. After praising them earlier, he argued about when his tooth got chipped, trying to challenge the bite mark timing.
His whole demeanor sounds like a weird mix. Cocky, witty sometimes.
And then he apparently broke down crying when his own mother testified for him.
And Meg Anders, his ex-girlfriend, she testified too.
Must have been incredibly difficult for her. The book really emphasizes that.
Her testimony was vital, though, wasn't it? Confirming all those suspicious things she'd seen over the years.
Right. The sack of clothes she didn't recognize, the crutches and medical supplies that seemed stolen, flight manuals, seeing his car near abduction spots. Things that only click later.
The book says she wept on the stand. Just captures the human cost of his deception.
Then the Orlando trial for Kimberly Leach. 3rd death sentence.
By then, the book describes his appearance changing. Sunken eyes, jowls bulged, more volatile.
And then that really strange courtroom scene with Carol Ann Boone.
Yes, she was still supporting him, called him Bunny, testified for him during sentencing.
And they got married. Right there in the courtroom.
Lied for the license just before, married during her testimony. Just shows the incredible, disturbing hold he could have on people.
Going back to the psychology mentioned in the book, this idea of the mask of sanity.
Right, describing him as an emotional robot or a subtly constructed reflex machine.
And what's really insightful, the book points out, is that standard psych tests often missed it.
Yeah, they could measure his IQ, his personality traits on paper, but couldn't seem to get to the core of that profound disconnect.
The author reflects a lot on this, his need for women, Meg, Sharon Auer, Carol Ann Boone, and his ability to just manipulate them.
And she really believes Meg's suspicions, even though they were dismissed early on, were absolutely crucial.
Yeah, that someone who knew him so well saw those glimpses, even if others couldn't or wouldn't.
So as we kind of wrap up this exploration, drawing from this really compelling book,
we want to mention Mindful Moments and our podcasts again.
Right. If this kind of deep dive, thinking critically, connecting the dots, if that resonates with you, definitely check those resources out.
Because this book, it really leaves you grappling with that core disturbance, doesn't it? Bundy's duality.
Absolutely.
Oh.
How could someone be so convincing, so normal, even helpful, while hiding such darkness?
What does it say about how we perceive people, about hidden personalities?
These are tough questions this account makes you face.
So, if this discussion has opened your eyes to the complexities here and the unique insights from this book, please think about subscribing to the show. We do these deep explorations regularly.
And maybe share this one with someone who's interested in true crime or these kinds of psychological puzzles.
Also, if you want to read the book itself, experience the narrative firsthand. We'll put a link to purchase it in the show notes.
Definitely worth reading.
And finally, just a thought to leave you with. Something that comes right out of the experience shared in this book. Is it possible that sometimes the most unsettling things are hidden right in front of us, in the people we think we know best?
How does this story challenge you, maybe, to look a bit closer? To question appearances, even in your own life? Something to think about.